Hey everybody. Hope everyone's doing all right. Did I have happy holidays? Thanksgiving was nice. It always is. It's fairly low key, not that many. Not that many folks. It's the same thing every year, but it's nice. It's nice. It's reliable. It's calm. It's multiple bottles of wine. Oh. Oh. That's good water. I look nice. Thank you. I shot a video earlier, so I'm still kind of done up a little bit. Plus, I recolored my hair, so I refreshed the color. Stephen Sondheim died last Friday. Yes, I did hear, and he was 91, so it's not exactly a shock. It's not unexpected, but it's still sad. Hey, Jamie. Hey, everybody. Oh, quick reminder, in case you didn't notice the pinned comment, super chats are incredibly appreciated. I do try and keep up with the chat as it goes, but I'm not going to scroll back. So if I miss something, you may have to ask it again. Or if you want to use a super chat, that will guarantee that I will see your question. Plus, you'll get a heart from me to you. So let's get into this. Hanukkah is happening this week. Hanukkah. I have a shirt that says, imagine your phone at 10% and lasting 8 nights. Now you understand Hanukkah. That's brilliant. I love that. That's fantastic. I have one of my closest friends is Jewish. I might have to tell her that. If only after drinking that wine you start a sentence with the word capitalism would make a great opening for a video essay. Capitalism. So, I mean, if someone wants to clip that, go right ahead. I stole nothing, Ms. Wikywolf. That is my original property. It's trademarked. I've been wondering, is Doctor Who more polarizing lately, or do I just have better access to the fandom now? It is and it isn't, because let's be very honest. Throughout the entire history of Doctor Who, and therefore the entire history of the fandom, there have been people who did not like what was currently going on with Doctor Who, and there have been people who did. So that dynamic is not new. There were people who liked what was going on with Doctor Who in the 80s, and there were other people that hated it. There were people who liked what Russell T Davies did. There are people who hated it. There are people who liked what Moffat did. There are people who hated it. There are people who started liking what Moffat did but didn't like how he ended up. There are people who like Chimmel. There are people who hate what he's doing. I think the difference is that there is a much stronger sense at this point that fandoms, many fandoms, have gotten very bad at simply disagreeing. A position of opinion has come to represent much more than that. So to use the current era of Doctor Who as an example, since this is the first time the Doctor has been a woman, that has led to the perception, not always accurately, but the perception that many of the people who disliked this era, especially if they disliked it right from the outset, were simply against the Doctor being a woman. And don't get me wrong, some people were flat out against that. But there became that assumption. And on the flip side of that, it became a thing with some people where if you don't want to be perceived as being one of those people, kind of generally referred to as the not my doctor crowd, if you don't want to be associated with them, then you have to be prepared to defend this era almost regardless of its innate qualities. That is not to say some people don't enjoy it authentically. Some of them do. But I think the degree to which people are prepared to fight about these opinions, that has gotten worse. The actual polarization of the opinions themselves is not new. I just think the degree to which people are prepared to really fight about it, that's gotten worse. Because, again, like, I'm always quick to point out, fans being jerks about it, about fandom in general, is not new. It's not new at all. Like, it predates the internet. The internet makes it much easier for people who disagree to find the people they disagree with and antagonize them. But these kinds of disagreements already existed. If you're my age or older, you will remember going into comic book shops and hearing arguments that sounded like someone was going to throw a punch over it over frickin' Spider-Man and Batman. So none of this is new. It's just the internet has exacerbated the existing issues. Have I heard the theory that the Ravagers are the Doctor's original race, which explains why the Doctor can change faces and appearances? No. Hadn't heard that one specifically. I've heard so many fan theories, and I don't seek out fan theory as a general rule, and I don't put a lot of weight in them. The problem is a lot of fan theories I'm not sure that one I would consider it, but a lot of the fan theories have sounded like the kind of thing Chibnall would do or has done. So it makes it harder for me to dismiss them out of hand, and I don't like that. I like dismissing fan theory out of hand. It's a comfort zone for me. Oh. Who would be the best, worst, or most disappointing division hire? I think they would be very disappointed if they tried to recruit the monk. I think he would not live up to their expectations at all. But you want to bet the production on the Wicked movie won't fall apart this time? I'm not actually going to bet anything because I don't care. I don't care. I'm probably never going to watch it unless somebody pays me to. I saw it on Broadway. I don't need the movie. So, the way I see it, either enjoy the show or don't, but never argue with another fan about what is good or not good. Or at the very least, if you're going to argue with a fan, do it with agreed upon terms. Like, I think there's plenty of room for debate, even heated argument, provided you are both coming in with an understanding and like basically set the ground debate rules. You know? So I don't want to make it sound like we shouldn't be disagreeing or arguing or presenting contrasting points. It is, however, a situation where, like, all right, let me put it this way. I've got a few people in my comments at this point. I won't name names, but I've got a few people in my comments at this point who tend to agree with me and defend my positions, but I see them like going through and replying to anybody who disagreed with me in the comments. And they're like, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, you're just going out of your way to find people to argue with. Michael Anderson Doyle. Dharma. Thank you very much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Anyone who read the Comics Journal letters to the editor's section knows this rancor is not new. Holy crap. Yeah, that's really true. Ooh. New member to the channel, Train Cam. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, you want to reach back, you can check out letters to the editor sections. And like, I forget where I pointed this out, but I did point out at some point that while things like hate mail campaigns and death threats over creative choices, which don't do that. Don't do that. Don't issue death threats at all, actually. But definitely don't do it over something like freaking creative choices. My God. Anyways, the thing is that back in the day, You had to go out of your way to find out what the address was to mail it to put together a letter, handwritten or typed. If it's typed, you had to print it. And like, you need to realize the idea of, well, everyone's got a printer at home. Not for a while, we didn't. And then you need to fill out an envelope. You need to mail it. You need to pay for the stamp. These aren't massive, prohibitive barriers to entry, but it was more work. So fewer people did it. Now people can just harass you on Twitter and it's free and freaking easy. As someone who isn't that bothered with the Timeless Child, if what I think is going to be revealed regarding Vinder and Belle happens, that might be the thing that breaks me. I mean, like, the thing is, people have been calling that one, basically as soon as Belle was introduced, people have been predicting that one, and God, I hope not. I've heard a lot of theories that fall under the category of, oh God, I hope not, but that one's definitely a big one. Have I seen the original West Side Story? Parts of it? I don't like West Side Story that much. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't particularly like it that much. Counsel, pitch. A temporary doctor wakes up having regenerated in their sleep with dead companions and has to stop it happening but can't exist if they do. That's an interesting pitch, to be sure. The major drawback you're going to have there is if whoever you get to be your cameo doctor is really good, because on paper that would be the opportunity to cast somebody who would never agree to a full series. You know, to have Helen Mirren, Tilda Swinton, Bill Nighy, you know, somebody who's too big a name to be the doctor for one story. But even if you don't do that, the possible downside is that if you do it really well, fans are going to start clamoring to see that doctor again, regardless. And then it just becomes one more thing that jackasses like me yell that we should be getting back, and it was a waste of potential. Bring back Omega. What are my thoughts on Muppet Babies, both the original and the reboot? The only thing I know about the reboot is the whole thing they did with Gonzarella, which I applaud and support. The original, I thought it was really cute. I liked it at the time. I was at the age where I enjoyed that quite a bit. Let's see. But you get to make people cry by ending with them getting to say, hello, I'm the doctor. I mean, look, it is not a bad idea. But unfortunately, because of the way my brain, you need to realize any idea you pitch me, even a really good one, my brain, just because of the way it works, is going to look for, okay, what are the downsides? Because that's just what my brain does. It's part of the reason why I think some people think I'm actually more negative than I in fact am. Like, especially when I see something like a trailer and other people are just being super hyped about what they see. Whereas I can't stop my brain from going, okay, that was cool and all, but where are the ways this could fall on its face and not work? That's just what my freaking brain does, man. I can't help it. Best case scenario is that the universe is restored. It gets reshuffled so that the Timeless Child is no longer true. I don't care if they retcon that. Am I the only one who doesn't? I swear to God. I swear that I am the only person who hates the Timeless Child, because I do. I hate that idea. I hate that reveal. I hate what it implies, and I hate what it does to the Doctor as a character. But I don't want it retconned. I just want it ignored. If you retcon it, that gives it weight. You're saying that it was worth spending time to fix, and it's not. Just ignore it. Don't give it the oxygen that is involved in freaking retconning it. You're not known as Captain Buzzkill for nothing. That's true. Although I'm mostly known that in the podcastosphere. Is where I earned the name Captain Buzzkill. Once you get a critic's eye, you can't unsee it. I had this long before I could be credibly, even sarcastically called a critic. I'm not sure I can. I suppose I can. I suppose, I got to get more comfortable with some of the labels for what it is I do. Because, this is my job. I feel like it's an overstatement to call me a video essayist. But I am a YouTuber. I am a content creator. I suppose some of the stuff I do are video essays. I suppose I am a critic. God, I got to get more comfortable with these labels, man. If they made a third Sesame Street movie, would you go see it? Probably not. I've aged out of it. So basically, Doctor Who version of the prologue of Kingdom Hearts 2. I do not remember. I liked Kingdom Hearts 2. I do not remember a goddamn thing about the plot. I do remember that was the one where I started going, this plot is out of control. It was a little weird in the first one. Second one, it was like, I'm sorry, what? I definitely couldn't chart it out for you. I'm sick of watching Flux reviews and begrudgingly agreeing, but still enjoying the series. Please just have at least some terrible takes already. For you. Well, I'll be sure my next take is garbage. How about that, just for you? No, I won't. People probably ask you this a lot, but do you have a perfect or at least most perfect episode of Doctor Who? I have my favorites. The thing is, I couldn't... Here's why I can't give you, I feel like, a proper answer to that question. Because one of the things that I love about Doctor Who is that due to the nature of the show, it can do anything. And that includes tone and themes. So, something like Midnight is amazing and damn near perfect as a contained piece of entertainment. Vincent and the Doctor, pretty close as well. Blink, The Doctor Falls. These are amazing episodes. The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, my God. But the thing is, they're excellent in slightly different ways because there is no one definitive way to do Doctor Who. Because, granted, this is my interpretation of your question. But when you ask me what is the perfect episode of something, that to me says, what is the episode that says this is the best that this thing has to offer? This is the perfect iteration of what this show is. And I don't think you can do that with Doctor Who because the show can be way too many different things. And I love that about it. So, I think Midnight is almost perfect. But it's not good in the same ways or for the same reasons that something like Vincent and the Doctor is. And that's a wonderful thing about this show. So I don't really have an answer, but I enjoyed talking about why I don't have an answer to that. Is that pretentious enough for you? Would Chris Chibnall's Heaven Sent starring 13 be too bad to watch or too bad not to watch? Can I be a snarky bitch for a minute? If Chibnall attempted to do an equivalent to Heaven Sent with Jodie Whittaker's 13th Doctor, that means he'd actually have to characterize her. And that would be the scariest thing of all. I can be a bitch sometimes. Do I have wolf feet slippers? No, I don't have any novelty slippers. I don't think I have had since I was 12. For a minute. Oh, vacuum of comments. Cheeky. Unrelated Doctor Who stuff. How do you feel about the dislike count going away? It's an odd choice to me, but I also kind of get it. Because In many ways, the dislike counter being public, because, like, be clear, the dislike counter isn't gone. It's just no longer viewable to anyone other than the channel operator. So here's the thing, like, I do get that. The dislike was something that was very easily abused. It was something that was used in, basically downvote campaigns. And the thing is, much like review bombing and the problems that have gone on things like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, the system being rife for abuse means that it has been abused increasingly often. And it's very easy to either throw together a couple of bots or to organize a decent enough number of people who care about something to just go and downvote the crap out of something and then claim that dislike ratio proves that it's a bad piece of content, even though the only reason it's so low is a bunch of people organized to deliberately drive it down. So I get why having it be public was increasingly often just becoming a big pain in the butt. So having it just be something that the content creators see so that it becomes something a bit more akin to anonymous feedback, I understand the logic that goes into that. I kind of wish they had made it an option, a bit like having the ability to turn off your comments on any given video, as opposed to just making it an automatic thing. Then again, having said that, I suppose part of the issue with doing it as something to opt in or opt out of is everyone would always assume that if the dislike ratio was the visibility of it was turned off, it's because the creator or studio or whoever put up the whatever knows it's crap. Kind of like how many times there's criticism for turning off comments, even though sometimes, frankly, it's warranted. So I get why the decision was made. I don't love it. But I get why it's there. And like, yeah, you creators still see them. I saw the downvote ratio from my Village of the Angels review. So yeah, we still see it. So if you're wondering if we still know that you don't like our opinions, oh, we know. Well, you know. Kara! Hey there. Good to see you. Have a heart. Long time no see. Will you be ranking Flux as a series or as individual episodes? So, two answers to that. Once it's done, I'm going to do an overview video since it is a serialized thing. I'm going to talk about it as a completed piece once it's done, and that'll be the Saturday video after it ends. So not this coming Saturday, but the one after. When it comes to ranking it in terms of like doing my ranking of, well, let me put it this way. I'll probably just toss off the ranking of since there's only 6 episodes, I'll probably just toss together I need to stop saying toss off because I have enough British viewers, and to say that somebody tossed off means something very, very different over there. But I might toss together just a quick, this is the order I put them in when I do that video. And in that case, it'll be individual episodes. When and if I ever do a ranking that would necessitate looking at them, like if I'm doing a themed ranking, or if I ever do ranking the entire modern series again with this new stuff integrated into it, which wouldn't be something I would do until further down the line. Or honestly, I probably won't do it until I've seen enough of Classic to be able to integrate Classic into that and make a stupidly long video. But anyway, I will probably deal with these individually, because while certainly the first, the third, and the fifth ones, so that's Halloween Apocalypse, Once Upon Time, and Survivors of the Flux, are definitely not standalone stories. They also aren't really like first or second half of two-parters in a way that I would be comfortable saying this is just another part of the same story. And War of the Centaurs and Village of the Angels are disconnected enough that I just feel like I would want to deal with those different... Like, it messes up my normal system. That's the short version. It screws up my normal system. There we go. Strum Dynasty. Thank you very much. Have yourself a heart. To me, Timeless Child issue isn't canon and undermines the Doc running away from Gallifrey. It was so relatable. Now it's an old, repeated, intentional scheme. Like, not that specifically, but the idea of undermining the nature of the Doctor and undermining who the Doctor is, that is my big problem. Because I'm not a lore hound. I could care less about lore more often than not. I care some about lore, but I care more about stories than I care about lore. Because it's not the same thing. But yeah, I hate what the Timeless Child did to the importance of the Doctor as a character. And that's not a lore thing. That is, to my mind, the Doctor should not matter on the universal scale. They shouldn't. But they do now, and that never seems to be going away anymore. Jeffrey, thank you so much. Have a heart. How would you think a crossover between Doctor Who and Resident Evil? How would Joe, Barry Byrne and Chris Redfield fare against the Doctor go? I don't know Resident Evil well enough to actually engage in that thought exercise. The only Resident Evil game I've played at all was Resident Evil 4, and I only played that for about an hour, like 17 years ago or so, roundabout. It's been a while. And none of the characters you listed are from Resident Evil 4. So I don't really have, like, I'm more familiar with the Resident Evil movies, the ones with Mila Jovovich, than I am with the video games. So, lose myself some more nerd cred there. Which also means, yes, I never played the Resident Evil with big vampire mommy milkies. In your last stream, you spoke for a moment, which I think should have been uploaded as its own clip. I'm surprised I couldn't find it. Where is it all right if I upload it myself? As long as you link back to the full thing, yeah, sure, go ahead. What were your thoughts on the hashtag Give Elsa a Girlfriend? I don't have a problem with things like that becoming hashtag campaigns. Like they did the same thing with Give Cap a Boyfriend. I just always caution anybody, don't sink too much emotional commitment into this idea, because odds are they're going to do their own thing, whether it is this or something else. But I don't think it's a bad idea to make your desires known to the creators. And I feel like, provided you don't abuse it and like attach it to negative comments, but a hashtag campaign is a good way to show a groundswell of support for an idea without having to like harass individuals about it, which, you shouldn't be doing. Hey, what would you think if 13 dies mid-battle and they have the new Doctor take over mid-battle as a fresh regeneration concept? I think that's a hard sell, because at this point, it's the kind of thing that could have been pulled off during the classic series. At this point, there is an expected momentousness. There is an expected level of just awe in a Doctor's departure. And to skim over that in the middle of an action scene is kind of neat on paper, but I think ultimately is going to leave a lot of people feeling like that particular Doctor didn't get the send-off they deserved. I'm not saying it would be impossible to pull off. I'm just saying that would be the trick to try and deal with. Connor Mitchell, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it very, very much. Are you disappointed with Doctor Who Flux so far? Yes, I can. I think I can confidently say that. Well, no, I'll backtrack. I am mildly disappointed because my expectations were not super high. Just because I've said this before, all the best stuff during Whittaker's era hasn't been written by Chibnall. So going into this knowing he was basically writing the whole thing himself, I didn't have high expectations. Yeah. You know, it would be cool, a gay Disney Prince movie. That'd be cool. Like, they'll get to it one of these days. They'll test run it on Disney Plus, and then they'll actually do it, I don't know, 5 years from now. Would you say this past episode was better than previous Flux episodes? No. No, I would only say the way in which I didn't like it no longer surprised me, so the blow was softer. Like, the Halloween Apocalypse was very frustrating for me because I didn't yet know what I was dealing with. And seeing all these storylines pile up and thinking to myself, how in the heck is this going to work? It just made me nervous, and it made me think, even if this gets pulled together later, this is a rough way to start a serialized story. And I feel like nobody was on my page with that first episode. When the third one came along, the only reason I still had some hope that maybe it would be pulled together was I had really liked the second episode. I had really liked War of the Sontarans. So that had kind of gotten my hopes back up a little bit. But then by the time the Survivors of the Flux happened, this most recent episode, the pattern had been set in already. And so I feel like I already knew the exact ways in which I was going to not like it. So I was certainly softer on it insofar as I didn't get nearly as worked up. But that's not because it was any better. It's just because I was used to the way that it wasn't working for me. Strum Dynasty, again, thank you. Thank you. Going off that, can we acknowledge Disney's cowardice with lead LGBT characters? If they can't censor it easily, they don't do it usually. I mean, you're not wrong, but at the same time, I don't get on Disney's case about that as much as other people because neither's anybody else. I mean, it's easy to pick on Disney because Disney is, they control so much of both, the biggest mainstream entertainment right now and also like the media of our childhoods. And so those of us who are allies really want them to, take the step. But like Warner Brothers Mass Family Entertainment is not doing much better. And it's not like DreamWorks has done it either. So, you're not wrong, but I don't think singling out Disney and being like, Disney should do better. Like, fucking everybody should do better. That's kind of where I'm at. Any advice for writing an evil king? Nope. I have no advice whatsoever because I do not. There are certain things you shouldn't ask me how to write, because I have no interest in writing them. So when I wrote my novel, I had 3 rules of things that I absolutely would not do. No prophecies or chosen ones. No great evil or rising darkness or singular villain of the world, which I feel like an evil king kind of is. And no romantic subplot for the lead character. So I'm a bad person to ask for advice on any one of those 3 things because I go out of my way to not ever write them. What about Loose and Amity and Owl House? Okay, so a couple things about that. First of all, the show is getting cut short and it's not even getting a 3rd proper season. So yeah, they did it and then pulled the plug shortly after. So, But the other thing is, generally when we talk about this, TV and movies it's funny. The video I shot today, which is going up on Saturday, I bring this up. So the status of television, and I would lump streaming in with this, is usually a bit ahead of movies. Because for television and streaming, they need so many hours of product that they're not going to be as rigorous about policing exactly what it is. Plus, it's made at a much lower price point per product than film is. There's more of it, and it's made cheaper. So they always take, this isn't just Disney, as a medium, television always takes more risks sooner than movies do. But the thing is, especially at this point in time, because media is so subdivided and so niche, and so to the point that like something can be a massive hit with a specific niche audience and the mainstream audience might never even know that show exists. It's not like when I was growing up and there were only 4 main channels, and then if you were upper middle class, you had cable. So it's not like that anymore. Whereas before, whatever went on the main channels, the broadcast networks of TV, everyone would know about. Now it's this tiny little niche thing buried in the algorithm of a streaming platform, and they can do more risky stuff because it's not going to get noticed by as many people. Whereas film is still, like, especially if you're talking anything made by Disney or the really bigger companies, is still intended to be seen by as many people in the mainstream as possible. Fewer of them get made a year, and they want everybody to pile into the theater to watch these same things. So film is always slower than television is. Woo, thank you very much. Word game plays. That's what I'm going with. Thank you for being you. You're welcome. Heart to the Ruth Doctor. Ruth Doctor equals Series 6B. I'm more comfortable with that than a lot of the other possible answers to that. I suppose anyone who's watching who doesn't know the Season 6B theory. So this is a fan theory that came up because of the episode during the 6th Doctor's era called The Two Doctors, where the 2nd Doctor, Patrick Troughton, appeared. Now, there was a lot of weirdness at the front end of that, where they basically, the Time Lords pulled the 2nd Doctor and Jamie out of their timeline to like do stuff for them, which doesn't make any sense because the 2nd Doctor was still on the run from the Time Lords. So the idea of the Time Lords working for him and them just letting him go at the end of it doesn't make a lot of sense, especially with what we knew. So this created the Season 6B theory that states that between Season 6 and 7 of the original classic series was when Troughton was working with and for the Time Lords until doing something that pissed them off and put him back on the run again. But it's a speculated season that we never saw. Now, as somebody noted in the chat, I missed it. Oh, vacuum of comments. There is nothing at this point to support the idea that she is from Season 6B. The initial issue with that would have been there weren't enough regenerations. Obviously, that's not the case anymore with the Timeless Child. But right now, most things indicate that she is a pre-Hartnell regeneration. That having been said, not having gone back and rewatched Series 12 yet, it may be possible to slot her in, or at least it may not be that much more work to slot her in there than to slot her in pre-Hartnell. It just depends on what questions Chibnall feels like answering or ignoring. It'll go one of the two ways. Thank you very much, Rob Chalice. Do you think you'll enjoy RTD2 and any predictions? I had to read that several times before I said it out loud because my brain wanted to change that to R2D2. I'm like, is R2D2 getting a series? Did I miss something? Like, no. So Russell T Davies in his second run. I have no predictions. I have no idea what he's going to do. Do I think I'll enjoy it? I hope I will enjoy it. I think odds are that I will like it more than I have liked Chibnall's run. That isn't the world's highest bar to clear. But that's kind of all I got. I'll put it this way. While I have my reservations about bringing back an older showrunner, which I've talked about previously, I am more interested to see what he will do than the idea of Chibnall having stayed on longer. I can't argue otherwise. Oh, another super chat. They're coming quick tonight. Defunct. Hey, recent subscriber. Thank you. I love your work. Have you seen any of the new Chucky series? And if so, what are your thoughts on queer rep in it? I have not. The only bit of it I've seen was the bit that I clipped for the video I did on my Vera Wild channel talking about all the nonsense over at the BBC and Lily Cade. That one clip of Chucky talking about his kid from the most maligned film in the series. So the fact that they were willing to acknowledge the film the least people like and have Chucky go, I got a kid. You have a kid. Gender fluid. And you're okay with that. I'm not a monster, Jake. Like the serial killer doll powered by a fake understanding of voodoo is more progressive than the goddamn BBC. Like that on principle I kind of love. I haven't seen the series because I don't have what it's on. So have you talked about why you dislike prophecies? If not, would you mind saying a little about it? Okay. Let's see how coherently I can throw this together. So, I don't know. I might have done an author's diary a while back about why I don't like prophecies. But here's the main thing. I feel like they limit what the story can be. The instant you introduce a prophecy, by its nature, almost regardless of how it's dealt with, there are now only two options. The prophecy happens or it doesn't. Now, you could make an argument that, well, most story setups, there's only two options. Like, will the heroes beat the villain or won't they? And yes, that's true, but the prophecy makes it much more specific. So the prophecies usually deal with this specific person will kill the villain, or they won't if it's trying to be subversive about it. But the idea of how will this team beat the villain? Who will be the one to take them on? How? A lot of these prophecies will even answer how it'll happen. And it just removes so many possibilities for me. That's my first frustration with it. My other frustration with it is not inherent to the trope, but it's in most examples of prophecies that I can think of to some degree, which is that it uses prophecy as an excuse to not tell a story properly. What I mean by that is these writers or these shows or whatever will do something with the story or have the characters head in a certain direction or the story like twist in this weird coincidence like what? And instead of exploring that or explaining it or justifying why the characters would do this, the narrative just kind of goes, no, it's prophecy. That was fate. No, that's lazy. That's what that is. It's very, very easy for prophecy to become a crutch. And I especially hate it as a late introduction to something. It's one thing if something presents prophecy right out the gate and is making it clear, like, this is what we're dealing with. But I hate it. I hate it so much when I'm halfway through a movie or halfway through a season of television or frickin' Lord forbid, in a later season of a television show and somebody goes, there's a prophecy. Oh, shut up. And like, not to mention the fact that there's always this assumed authority of the prophecy You found a piece of paper that said a thing. Ooh, it's a prophecy. No, it's a piece of paper that said a thing. But narrative gives it all this weight, like it's momentous and it's meaningful. It doesn't have to be. There's no reason for it to be there. I find it much more interesting to justify what characters will do and justify choices they will make and justify within character and story how it goes rather than going, that's how it was fated to happen. Bite me. There we go. John Vinyls, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Fun fact, creator of Child's Play and Chucky, Don Mancini, is a gay man. I did not know that about Don Mancini. Very cool. Could a character played by a puppet work on Star Trek? I'm not sure they've built there's just way too much Star Trek, and they've set the standard for what aliens are. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but you kind of need to introduce that a lot earlier. How does prophecy overlap with or compared to closed time loops or bootstraps? Well, okay, so when you're talking time loops and paradoxes, that's a bit like what I said where the prophecy is up front and you're making clear this is what this is about. It's when prophecy gets introduced into a story that doesn't need it and is fully capable of moving forward without it. That's where I hate seeing prophecy. I actually like time loops. They're really hard to do correctly. But I feel like let me put it this way. I did start writing something that has a prophecy as an element, but it's a joke. But I also introduced that very, very, very early into the thing. It's a story idea that I might get back to one of these days. Yes, I will check. Thank you, Carowin. Thank you very much. I will check the Discord in just a moment. I have to finish the thought or I'll lose it. So I might get back to the story. It's called You Are Not the Chosen One. So, again, if you lay it out right at the start, but again, I feel like way too many times prophecy gets introduced midway through a story, discovered either by the villain, or sometimes it's what drives the villain. That's another one. The self-fulfilling prophecy used to be a subversion, and now it's really dumb, where the prophecy is something the villain finds out, oh, this person will defeat me, so I must stop them now. And then you rope them in and they don't even care about you, except you went all that. It's all played out. There were places to go at some point, but there isn't anymore. All right, I got to check the Discord. Excuse me. Let's see what we got here. A reminder, the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk. So if you feel like going to patreon.com/Council of Geeks and signing up there at a $2 or higher tier, you too can get access to the Discord, which not only guarantees that I will read your question without having to do a super chat, it has tons of channels for everything from Doctor Who to Star Wars to superheroes to gaming, writing, music listening, etc., etc., etc. It's a nice chill place, have wonderful mods, and please join us there. I can do a sales pitch. I don't do it often, but I can. Okay. Probably not coming because I'm still behind on Doctor Who. Okay, yeah, if you're wanting to avoid spoilers, probably better to skip it. Won't be staying, so question. In your Survivors of the Flux review, you mentioned shows that had surprised you by pulling off something you did not think they could. What were some of them and why? So, I know there's more than this, but my current go-to example was, because I have the receipts to show that I did not think this was going to work. I did not think that season 5 of She-Ra and the Princess of Power was going to be able to successfully redeem the character of Catra. I suspected they were going to try, and I did not think they were going to be able to pull it off. I did outline what I think they should do if they were going to try. They did not do that. They did something completely different, and it absolutely works. So, that's the off my top of my head example. I know there's other ones, though. I know there's definitely others, but that's sort of the one that comes to mind. Because, again, you can actually look through my own old videos and see where I thought it wasn't going to work. Do you feel there could have been a better way to discourage dislike bombs, like have an account watch a certain amount of videos before unlocking the ratings or something? Especially since I feel like it doesn't do much to curb harassment, since it's just going to spew into the comments. This is coming from someone who was dislike bombed at least 3 times. Okay, so this is the turning off of the dislikes thing again. Honestly, what I would have said was, I'm curious as to why YouTube felt it still needed the data at all. Like, it's obviously still counting them because for the algorithm somewhere. Except that we know historically that dislikes don't actually discourage it in the algorithm. It all counts as engagement. So, like, at this point, I'm actually starting to wonder if the like-dislike feature is just becoming superfluous in and of itself. Since they just went ahead and gutted half of it. Does the other half serve as much purpose now? I don't even know. Also, as someone who has been the target of a harassment campaign, yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed when people bring up dislike bombs. So yeah, personal experience is clouding my judgment. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong that it won't discourage harassing behavior. But again, it's kind of like what I said about the hate mail thing. If you make it a little bit harder, fewer people will do it. So I think there were more people using the dislike bombing than were hitting up the comments. And anyone who was willing to put in the effort to hit up the comments was either skipping the dislike bomb or was doing both anyway. And I don't think it's going to change their behavior. And I don't think people who were just hitting the dislike but weren't harassing people in the comments are suddenly going to put in the extra effort to do that. So I'll agree it's not going to curb harassment, but I think neither keeping it nor ditching it is really going to impact that either way. It's just a very specific form of things that, like, I kind of get why they got rid of it, but now I'm wondering why they have left behind the half that they have. And one last one. Self-fulfilling prophecies aren't a subversion. They're a default. Greek mythology ran on self-fulfilling prophecies. Yes, that's true. I mean, and that's the last one. So that was kind of like the only way that prophecy stories tried to be cute is like, ooh, but the way the prophecy is fulfilled isn't quite the way that you thought it would. Except that if this is not your first rodeo, you are probably looking at that prophecy and thinking, okay, what are all the possible ways this could get fulfilled besides the obvious one? Because it's rarely fulfilled the obvious way anymore. So even trying to be subversive or clever about it it's increasingly difficult, and I just don't think it's a good. I don't know what writers think they gain other than a crutch, and I'm never going to encourage writers to use a crutch. That's not to say you're automatically bad for using it. That's fine, but it's why I don't like seeing them. Any advice on writing gods? Be careful about writing real ones. And when I say real ones, I mean ones that people actually worship, or any that are equivalents and very clear parallels to ones that are still actively worshipped. Be careful and respectful about that. That is the only advice I'm going to give. Joseph Rakes, thank you very much for the super chat. Good evening, longtime watcher. Love the vids. Just curious if you watched the He-Man Revelations Part 2. I think it's fun. I did. I also shot a review of that. I want to try and edit that tomorrow and have that up in the break room. Then I need to try... I need to try and finish watching the Cowboy Bebop live action. Oh, God. It's so bad. I'm trying so hard. So hard to give it the benefit of the doubt and not just crap all over it. But it's so bad. It's so bad, you guys. I'm I know I need to get out of the habit of saying guys because I know that's a gendered term, but it's still like I've had a glass of water, and so like my brain's defaulting to default settings, but it's just so bad. And I say that who doesn't even hold up the original as this god tier level anime like a lot of people do. I think it's overrated, but holy cow! Why is Vicious a love-struck villain? Vicious was never good, but I will take boring original flavor Vicious over this insufferable, like they tried to give him a personality and they gave him an insufferable one. He was never good and now he's horrible. And they ruined Julia. Like, the fact that the fact that they even gave Julia a character is kind of self-defeating because the point is not who she was as a person. The point is what she meant to Spike. She functions much better as being someone who is referred to, but we don't really know because we don't really know her, but we know what her being in his life did to Spike. That's what matters. So focusing on her and giving her an insanely generic, sort of abused girlfriend of a friggin' mobster personality and storyline. I gotta get out of here. Like, oh my God, you are so boring. The version of you that like we saw in only like 2 episodes and you barely said 5 sentences worked way better than whatever the frickin' hell this is. I'm only 4 episodes into it. But it's terrible. It's so bad. So bad. Hey. Do I think Onward, Ryan the Last Dragon, and Encanto will get their own TV series? I haven't seen Encanto. Ryan the Last Dragon could support one. That world would support it. Not Onward. I found the world to be by far the least interesting thing about Onward. It wasn't even close. They thought it was a thoroughly unexplored concept in terms of the world. Can we make dudes a gender neutral term? I tend to use it as one. I am still trying to break that habit though. Who would you like to see write for 13 from previous teams? I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have an easy answer to that. I'm not going to come up with one before I wrap up the stream. Viciously is basically discount Sephiroth. Well, yes, he was always a Sephiroth knockoff. Like, here's the thing. Vicious is bad in both versions of Cowboy Bebop, but he's bad for different reasons. He's bad in the original because he feels like what you would get if you plugged a ton of anime cliches and tropes into an algorithm and told it to create for you an all-purpose anime villain that you could slot into any anime ever made. That's what Vicious feels like in the original. He does not fit or feel properly integrated into the thing. He's still like, he is such a placeholder of a villain. And he's the only like there are legit good villains in that show, and he's the only recurring one. It's like, ugh. But then in the show, he's just this simpering little annoying, like weird expression, slightly bug-eyed. I don't even know what they're going for, but I hate him. The alternative, you guys, is y'all. Like, y'all is very useful as a gender-neutral collective. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. John Vinyls, I forgot to give you a heart. There we go. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you very much. But yeah, the thing about y'all is in my head, it's a Southern term, and I can't even think y'all. It's not a phrase that flows through my brain. Any advice on writing fictitious gods, original ones? Not really, because there are many different ways to write them. Since you're saying gods plural, I'm assuming you are dealing with a pantheon and a polytheistic arrangement, in which case, like, write them however you want. Now, most pantheons deal with, frankly, petty gods. Because when you have that many and not any one of them is in control of everything, they're going to be very protective of their little sliver of power. So writing them as sort of petty tyrants would be the default. But the thing is, like, just shift the personality depending on what it is they are the god of. Just have fun with it. I kind of want the Grand Serpent to team up with Jack Robertson and then betray him, just for an absolutely perfect joke reference related to why you hated Robertson to begin with. Like, what the hell? What? Why does the Grand Serpent have a plot line? Why? Like, here's the thing. The only thing that I can come up with is that the Doctor made a reference to, with the flux happening, people could take advantage. And maybe that's what they're trying to do with him. Except that, honestly, that's the kind of thing that would be really well suited to one of the specials and, like, have the timeline largely run in parallel with the events of Flux until it meets up with the Doctor on the tail end who is still cleaning up the pieces after sorting out however the heck they're going to sort it out. To inject that in not even the middle, and the tail end of a story that's supposed to be wrapping up. Why? Thank the Deep South for y'all. The best gender-neutral collective pronoun. It is a really good one for that. It is. Okay. I am going to wrap it up. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the company. And I hope that you all take care. I think just with the time difference, some of you are already into December. If you celebrate any notable holiday in December, I hope you have got your shopping already done. I need to do that. Yep, yes, I do. But I hope you take care. And I hope that you remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!